Thomas, it's Ndidi and Skip as the two hold. Well, it's a very warm welcome and thank you for joining us. Apologies for the slight delay in starting our commentary for this one. Leicester City taking on Southampton. Well, it's a dead rubber in the sense that both of these teams are now heading for the Championship. They've known that now for a few weeks. That said, though, Leicester City really have had an awful time of it at home, and Southampton have only had the one win away from home all season. So between those two, hopefully the two sides will come out today and want to put on as good a show as possible. Leicester City have still got a decent crowd in. There would have been a lot travelling from Southampton for this one as well. It's myself, Paul Szczerbakowicz, and James Smedley taking through action. James, it's one of those games where it could end up being a very sort of quiet, tame affair, but both teams hopefully are just going to go for it.
Well, exactly. I think one of the main things we've got going for us as a neutral here is that both sides are so poor, Leicester City at home and Southampton away, as you've mentioned, that potentially that leaves room for stuff actually happening in this one. You know, Leicester have not been great defensively, but certainly not offensively either. Jamie Vardy recently announcing he's leaving the club has not quite had the pace in the locker this season that he perhaps has done in his former years. As for Southampton, I just think going forward it's just so disorganised in what I've watched this season. It
has been really, yeah, but as you say, but both teams not great in defence. That should hopefully be encouraging for some sort of attacking players. A quick ball is played down the middle here for Jamie Vardy. It's well cut out though by Bednarik and out for a throw. Just to remind you the two teams very quickly, it's Szczerbakowicz in goal for Leicester, back four of James, Face, Cody and Thomas, and Ndidi and Skip are the two holder midfielders, with McAteer, El Khanous and Ayew as the attacking three playing behind Vardy. For Southampton it's Ramsdale in goal, a back three of Harwood, Bellis, Bednarik and Stevens. Four across the middle are Walker Peters, Downs, Ugochukwu and Manning, with Mateus Fernandes, Sulemana and Stewart as the attacking three. The ball going down the right hand side here for Leicester City, getting all the way to the edge of the area. Good work here from McAteer, left footed cross towards the back post. It's just a little bit too much on that one. There were two players in the middle of the box though, but he saw Thomas coming in on the left hand side. It's not too far away from him.
No, it's a really good ball, and Thomas makes a really clever run actually towards that backhand side, because Ayew just peels in, which creates a lot of space at that back post. Thomas does well to exploit it. It's a good ball in, but just no one on the end of it, and really that's something that Leicester have struggled with this season. You know, that killer instinct in front of goal, but not a million miles away there.
No, Manning was looking for a free kick there for that little shove from McAteer, but I think the referee and the linesman both decided there probably wasn't enough contact. A bouncing ball in midfield, it just lent up with Ugochukwu. Laying it back now to Manning, bit of pressing here from Leicester in the middle of the park, but the visitors do hold on to it now down the left hand side. Here is Manning, gets that ball back in towards Ugochukwu. And Leicester City just sat back inside their own half. They're not pressing Timber. Just to remind you, in the earlier Premier League game this afternoon, Aston Villa beat Fulham by 1-0. And in terms of the Championship, Leeds did end up becoming the champions. They did beat Plymouth in the last minute, so they're first, and Burnley are second. Sheffield United are third. And in terms of the other playoff positions, it's been confirmed now that we've also got Sunderland, Coventry and Bristol City who are going to be competing to get into the Premier League. There's of course a lot happening in Leagues 1 and 2. Anything jumps off the page there, we will let you know as well. Just the one Premier League game going on as well as this one this afternoon. It's Everton against Ipswich. That's also available on our services. McAteer couldn't quite keep the ball in play there down the Leicester right. It's Manning with the throw in towards Ugochukwu. And already a couple of minutes of possession in the middle of the park, which I was worried about. I was hoping that it would be a little bit more end-to-end, but it's one of those games where I suppose both sides know they're so frail in defence and in attack that there's going to be a fear of conceding the first goal as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it really is going to be on a knife edge for, I think, the opening 30 minutes of this one at the King Power. Both sides are going to be really cagey going forward. Southampton are building though. It's a ball to the left-hand side for Manning if he can keep it down.
Yeah, Manning does take control a bit, lays it back now towards Sulemana, who does go for goal. The shot is charged down just at the edge of the 6-yard box there by Connor Cody. Manning gets it back for Southampton on the left-hand side, plays it back in towards Sulemana. Downs now in towards Ugochukwu. So just looking at these two sides, are there any players that jump off the page in terms of who might be coming back into the Premier League with another club next season?
Potentially, I think Wilfred Ndidi, the main one really for Leicester. As good defending there at the back from Cody, puts that behind for a corner kick to Southampton. But I think Ndidi, is the player with the most quality out of the 22 players on the pitch here at the moment. As for Southampton, there's no one that really stands out. Flynn Downs potentially. Walker Peters has been there for so long, but has always had that potential to move up potentially in his career. Ugochukwu, of course, a player of talents, but only alone as well. And as for Leicester, only really Ndidi. Maybe El Khanous, the youngster, certainly bags of potential as well for maybe a top move club. But other than that, there's nothing that really stands out.
No, it's been a flat season, I think, from both sides. They probably did need a little bit more work in the transfer market over the summer. But the ball coming in from the right-hand side, it's headed down. It was a decent header there from Harwood, Bellis, but it's pretty much straight down the middle. And a comfortable save for Szczerbakowicz, and then it was an out-swinging corner from the right-hand side. Gets not too much power on that one, really. The goalkeeper should be saving that one. Leicester City now back in possession, still inside their own half, and Didi over towards the right-hand side for James Justin. He's got space ahead of him here for McAteer, just cuts into the middle. And played back now towards Wilfred and Didi. 6 minutes on the clock. It's been a fairly lively start. A couple of minutes of slow possession, but hopefully both teams will look at their opposition today and say we can actually get some points against these. But for the time being, a little bit cagey here in the middle as Justin just going back towards Connor Cody. He was being closed down there, so we having to go back towards Stolarczyk. It's been another feature for Leicester this season. They haven't really been able to bed down their first choice keeper, really, have they?
No, they do not. And Hermansson out in this one as well is problematic for them. I think he's a great goalkeeper, is Mads Hermansson, but it's always going to be difficult as a goalkeeper when you are conceding so many shots at you for so much of the game. Yes, he's conceded a lot of goals, but he's also, bailed Leicester out quite a few times. I think if he has a better defence in front of him, he's certainly got a very high ceiling as the goalkeeper.
Absolutely, and we'll wait and see what happens with him in the summer. Jamie Vardy just caught there as he was trying to win the ball. Southampton weren't actually too happy with this free kick. We can see Simon Rusk and his assistant there as well. Temporary system Adam Lallana, they weren't too impressed with that either, but Leicester now have got themselves a free kick. It's around 40 yards out. It's probably just within shooting range, maybe, because it is quite central as well. It's not going to be the easiest ball to cross into the box either, so wait to see what the home side are thinking in terms of a variation here. Southampton have set up just at the edge of the penalty area with their offside. And it looks like it might be a left-footed ball in from Thomas. In fact, it's a quick ball towards the edge of the area. It's with El Khanous now. He's trying to trick his way into the box. He puts a shot in, which is charged down. Deflects back in towards El Khanous. He puts another cross in, which is also charged down. But Leicester at least have a corner.
They do indeed, and it's good play from El Khanous there. A bit of ingenuity from the set piece as well. And the number 11 does well to beat his man the first time. Gets the cross in the second time of asking. It's charged down well by Southampton, but a corner to defend now for the Saints.
It's going to be an outswinger here from Luke Thomas. And a line of Leicester City players waiting just around about the penalty spot. They're all going to start moving once this ball is played into the penalty. There's going to be a left-footed outswinger here from Thomas. And it's quite a flat ball towards the edge of the 6-yard box. It's just over the head of McAteer. Only got a glancing head to it, but it's kept alive here by Ayew on the right-hand side. His ball into the penalty is headed away by Ogachukwu. Then a second header there from Flynn Downs gets that one way into safety, and Southampton having to push out of their own box. But Ollie Skipp was the last man back for Leicester City, and so the home side do still keep possession, albeit making a bit of a mess of it down there on the left-hand side. It eventually does go out for a throw, which is taken quickly. And it's now rolled back in towards Vuk. I thought with Leicester City as well that they got rid of their previous manager very, very quickly. And then I think potentially a sort of flavour of the month appointment with Van Nistelrooy, because he'd had a couple of good games with United as caretaker. I just wonder if it was a sort of snap decision to give him the job and potentially maybe a little bit rushed.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the saying rings true. The grass isn't always greener on the other side, and I think that is so true with the appointment of Ruud van Nistelrooy. You're completely right. He showed promise in his interim games as caretaker manager for Manchester United, but the longevity was lacking, and I think that's been found out as he's taken over Leicester on a full-time basis. He's not lasted. He's not done very well with the squad that he has, and I think Leicester are one of the sides that came up out of the three that I think really had the most quality and have been the most underwhelming for me.
Well, they certainly had the nicest style of play last season, didn't they, under Maresca, albeit a few Leicester fans were saying that they sort of started to run out of steam towards the end of the season, which is something that Chelsea fans have labelled Maresca this season as well. But it was strange when they got rid of Steve Cooper quite early on in the season. Obviously felt that things weren't going right with him. It was obviously a decision to try and keep themselves in the league, but it's probably backfired, because if they'd have kept Cooper, they may still have gone down, but I think they may have probably put a bit more of a fight than what they did in the end. There were far too many games. There was that period, wasn't there, when they lost 5 or 6 games at home to by 3 and 4s, and it just didn't look very good for Leicester at all. But Southampton, on the other hand, of course, they started the season with that very sort of strict style of play, always playing out from the back, and that became a sort of a feature where they're never going to kick it long, and they started to bring out more and more mistakes. They were swapping their keepers early on, and it's just been a really, really tough season for the Saints. So both these clubs with a lot of regrouping to do in the summer, but it's Southampton now trying to get on the attack down the left-hand side. Manning's ball in towards Ogachukwu was cleared back into midfield, but it's been won back here by Stevens. He just got there ahead of Ayew. It's now on the right-hand side for Southampton with Kyle Walker-Peters. It's a bit of a hospital pass there to Flynn Downs, and all he could do there was just try and protect the ball, but he's given a free kick away. Dave Webb, our referee, giving the free kick to Leicester.
Yeah, Flynn Downs not really a player that's scared to get involved in a 50-50 challenge. Gets that one wrong though, but you're right, it's a poor pass into his feet and really just sloppy play from Southampton, which again has been synonymous with their season this year.
Certainly has, and Leicester have charged forward down the left-hand side. Hardly any resistance at all here from the visitors. The ball in there from Thomas's charge down. A second ball might still be available, but it is Walker-Peters that brings it away for Southampton, and now it's Mateus Fernandes twists inside for Sulemana back towards Downs, but again Southampton having to exchange a lot of passes just to keep the ball inside their own half. Now it's with Manning on the left-hand side, but again I think that it seems to me like there's been a couple of occasions already in these first 11 minutes where Southampton especially could have tried to have gone long, but it's almost like they've been told not to, as if to say, look, just try and keep the ball early, don't take too many risks, and then try and sort of get into the game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I mentioned that it would be a cagey affair, and it certainly has proved to be as such. Southampton's scared to give away the ball, as you say, and they're being very cautious in how they come forward. Sulemana on the ball now, gets the better of one or two, but again, turning and playing the ball backwards towards Manning, and it is just very, very cautious the way Southampton are attacking.
It is, and in the end Manning does have to play a bit of a percentage ball towards the edge of there, which is easily cut out by Cody, but at least they have gained some territory here. Southampton, they've won themselves a throw level with the edge of the Leicester penalty area. It's going to be taken in by Manning, you would imagine, on the left-hand side. He does have a long throw on him, but it doesn't seem to be that anyone's getting into the box to try and get on the end of it. Now they are, though, so it looks like Manning has given the call, and he's going to try and launch this one as far as he can into the penalty area, put some pressure on this Leicester City defence. Taking a little while for everybody to get into position, but Manning now is going to try and get this one as far as he can. Launches this one towards the edge of the 6-yard box. A decent throw. It's headed on at the near post, but then it's flicked away. It was Harwood Bellis that got his head to that first one. It's cleared back into midfield. Flynn Downs keeping it alive here for Southampton, going a square towards Walker-Peters here on the right-hand side. Back in towards Mateus Fernandes. And again, no options here for Southampton to keep the ball in attack. It's now Ugochukwu over towards the right hand side. That's easily cut out, played through the middle. But again, Flynn Downs is there. If anything, Leicester are looking a little bit more disjointed early on in this game. And here comes Southampton now down the left hand side with Sulemana. And he gets to the edge there. He's got an overlap there from Manning. Manning then runs into Justin. And has he been... well, the referee is going to give a corner kick to Leicester City after all of that. But I say, it's one of those where... I mean, Manning does run into Justin. Is it a case of Justin being fouled there? I mean, the referee's actually got his hand to his ear as if to say, well, we're going to check VAR, but surely there's absolutely no suggestion of any kind of foul the other way there. Yeah,
I think Justin just knows he's in a bit of trouble, so he feels the pressure from Manning on the back and goes to the ground, knowing that defenders often are treated a little bit more leniently when it comes to free kicks inside their own half and their own box. He is caught by the elbow of Manning, but it's completely innocuous from the Southampton player, so a corner kick is probably the right decision after all that.
Yeah, I think it is. I say I'm not quite sure why the referee would have been thinking about some VAR assistance, because there certainly wasn't a free kick or a penalty indeed going the other way, but it's going to be a corner kick to Southampton, then an outswinger from Manning on the left hand side, and he tries to get, well, again, it's a very low ball into the box. It's initially missed by Jamie Vardy, but he gets a second chance at it and he does get it away from the box this time. Then he's caught in possession just in front of his own penalty area, and once again Southampton are able to recycle it, playing it back to the halfway line where Walker-Peters was the last man back. Bednarik now, as he's trotting back into defence, just holds onto the ball here in midfield, plays it back towards Flynn Downs. And yeah, we're getting close to 40 minutes on the clock, and I would say the visitors are making the better impression so far.
Yeah, they absolutely are. I think they are starting to pen Leicester back a little bit. Holding onto the ball is paying some dividends in the sense that it is just slowly encroaching them into that Leicester half, but you always got to be wary of the threat Leicester do possess on the counter-attack. El Khanous has moved out to the left-hand side now with the less pacey Ayew taking up the centre attacking midfield spot, which then frees up that space on the left for the Leicester number 11 to exploit. They certainly will have pace in that area of the pitch. McAteer, another one that likes to get forward as well. So Southampton just have to be careful not to get caught on the break, because playing this 3-back formation, there will certainly be space on the flanks.
That's exactly, I think, what they've got to be very careful of, is that if they get too much into too much of an attack mode, that's maybe where Leicester might be able to get some joy as they try and go route one this time, a long clearance straight down the middle from Aaron Ramsdale, but it just eludes Ross Stewart at the edge of the Leicester penalty area, and it is the home side now with Wout Faes trying to keep a bit of possession themselves. And it's over towards the right hand side. I can see a couple of protest banners there from the Leicester City fans, and there is a little bit of unrest and discourse as to what's happening at boardroom level here at the King Power Stadium as well. Leicester City, as I say, they'll be back in the Championship next season, and based on what we've seen this season, it's such a difficult league to predict. So many twists and turns, and wait to see exactly how the three relegated sides fare next season. But Leicester now trying to move something down the right-hand side. McAteer, though, under pressure, going back towards James Justin. And Ndidi now square towards Wout Face. On the halfway line, just playing it short to Ndidi. They thought about a long ball, but Southampton, to their credit, are playing quite a high line, so there's no real joy for Leicester trying to play a ball over the top like that. It's now back on the halfway line, Face under pressure from Fernandes, just gets that ball in towards El Canouse. Looking across their Face now back in towards Connor Cody. Still goalless in the other game, by the way, between Everton and Ipswich, but it is Leicester in possession now down the left-hand side. Nice spin there from Thomas, and he plays it in towards El Canouse. He's getting towards the edge of the area, plays the ball into Vardy, who hits it first time and slams it into the top corner. Jamie Vardy had too much space. He's barely had a touch of the ball since the start of the game, but Southampton did leave too much space. El Canouse capitalised, and it's a great finish from Vardy.
It is indeed. It's vintage Vardy there at the front post. First time left-footed finish, reminiscent of his earlier days at Leicester City 5 or 6 years ago. Fantastic finish from him, leaving the goalkeeper absolutely no chance. Ramsdale rooted to the spot. Leicester, despite being on the back foot for the most of this opening 70 minutes of football at home, they have scored their goal and they have taken a lead. It's their first goal in over 200 minutes of football.
It is, and it's the first home goal they've scored in a league game. If we take out an FA Cup match they had in January, it's the first league goal they've scored since December. Unbelievably long time not to score at your own ground. But Jamie Vardy is on 199 goals for Leicester City now with that strike, and it's a really good finish as well. Just uses the pace of that cross and just really guides that into the top corner.
He does indeed. It's a good ball as well from El Canouse, just bouncing it perfectly for Vardy. I'm assuming he's done that intentionally, the number 11, as he hits that into the ball, just dinking it perfectly for the number 9 to slam that into the top corner. Really good play from the two Leicester players, and a goal that is good to see from a neutral perspective, especially for those home fans who have not celebrated anything at the King Power for so long. No,
it has been a very bleak pushing 4.5 months now since Leicester scored a league goal at home. So it's about long overdue, but that's off the back of Southampton making a slightly better impression in the first 17 minutes of this game. But they've gone a goal down now. So wait and see whether or not Simon Rusk's 11 can somehow respond now with a bit more attacking possession. And it wasn't really a counter-attack either. It was just a quick ball down for El Canouse down the left-hand side. And Southampton pretty much just leaving too much space there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mentioned earlier that Southampton are going to have to be wary of that counter-attack, especially down the width, because of the three-back formation they're playing, and that's exactly where the goal came from. It's a long ball on the line. Walker-Peters is in no man's land. El Canouse gets the better of him, and then it's essentially a 2v2 as that ball is put into the box. It's far too easy from Southampton's perspective. Leicester really taking advantage of the defensive frailties of the Saints. And it's a goal which, doesn't mean much in the grand scheme of things, but will certainly improve the mood at the King Power.
Certainly will, and as I say, there's from Vardy's perspective, I would like Vardy to get 200 goals before he leaves the King Power. He's only one away from it now, so there's still a very good chance that he might be able to do it. And if he can get that 200th goal at the King Power as well, that would really be a sort of a nice end to what's been an amazing time for Jamie Vardy at this club. Saul Van Nistelrooy certainly celebrating that goal as well, as a former quality striker that Van Nistelrooy was. I'm sure it would have hurt him very much that his side hadn't had a home goal in over 4 months, but they've broken that duck now. It's Leicester 1, Southampton 0, and the ball given away there by James Justin in midfield. It's a combination of Ugo Chukwu and Flynn Downs keeping it alive, but there's just a little bit too much trickery there from Mateus Fernandes. He's robbed of the ball, but then a poor pass out of midfield allows Southampton to win the ball back here. Manning holding it up and going it back towards Jack Stevens, and switching the play over towards Taylor Harwood-Bellis. Just getting up towards the halfway line. Good Chukwu now. Harwood-Bellis is another one, of course, a former Manchester City player who almost had to be bought by Southampton because they had him on loan, and the deal was that they would buy him if they got promoted. I just wonder whether or not it's difficult to judge any Southampton defender, as you mentioned, with the Leicester keepers, because they have had such a torrid time of it. But certainly Harwood-Bellis has the qualities. He's a ball-playing centre-back, isn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. I just think the issue is that from a scouting perspective from other clubs, as you say, it's so hard to differentiate, the good from the bad, really, in a side that have conceded so many goals and gone down, because it is taking a risk at the end of the day, because you don't concede so many goals in a season and get relegated without something going wrong at the back. And whether it's him or whether it's not him is ultimately going to be a hard thing to decide for any scouts of a buying club.
No, absolutely. I think, as I say, that there will be individual errors there from Harwood Bellis. There'll be individual errors from all of his other defensive teammates, and of course the 3 or even 4 keepers that have been used by Southampton this season at various times as well. But certainly, as we can see, the possession stats, 44% for Leicester, 56% for Southampton. Leicester have only had 2 attempts to Southampton's 3, but it's that telling strike from Vardy that has put Leicester City 1-0 up in this game. With Voot face now on the halfway line in towards El Canouse. He then plays it back towards Conor Cody. Just to give you a quick rundown as far as the next fixtures for these sides. Leicester are away to Nottingham Forest next weekend, and there'll be a little bit of a needle there. They're 2 sides, that's 2 East Midland sides that traditionally don't like each other. So if Leicester could go there and try and dent Nottingham Forest's Champions League ambitions, then that'll be a tiny little feather in the cap of the Leicester fans. Whereas Southampton's next game is at home to Manchester City. As goodness me, got to get a break in play here. Our referee has just been struck in the face, and Jamie Vardy has come across to blow the referee's whistle to just stop play. I mean, oh goodness me, that's quite a rare. You don't see that very often. And the physios come on. I'm assuming that it's maybe one of each to try and help the referee here. But all joking aside, he looks like he's taken a blow to the face there quite badly, our referee.
Yeah, we're just seeing another replay of it here, and I think he gets caught. Perhaps by Jordan Ayew.
I'm not. Does Ayew run into him? It's like a glancing blow, but it doesn't even seem like it's that much. And I don't know if it's like the top of the shoulder if Ayew catches the ref from the back of the head, and it's just the shock of it. But yeah, that's an unusual one. I mean, we don't see Dave Webb doing that many Premier League games anyway. Sam Barrett is our 4th official, has actually had a bit more Premier League experience this season, and it may well be that he's going to have to do some stretching.
I mean, this is truly bizarre. I don't think I've ever quite seen anything quite like this. Jordan Ayew, I mean, did they get VAR involved for violent conduct? I'm not quite sure. But
who's the VAR going to speak to if the referee's down?
maybe Jamie Vardy will take the headset as well as blowing the whistle.
But yeah, we're getting. We can see one of, I think, the Premier League sort of match director. You can have one of those at every Premier League game. He's just having a quick word with one of the linesmen as to decide what's going to happen here, because this is an unusual one, and that is for sure. And say he's sat up now, the referee. But I suppose it means that if in the future, if he tells players to get up, come on, it wasn't that bad, players can say, come on, ref, you barely got glanced there by Ayew, and you weren't moving for ages. But let's hope it obviously is nothing too serious. The fact the referee is sitting up is good news. But I just want to see another close-up. We're going to get a close-up of the goal now from Leicester. There's certainly no hardship there, because it's a lovely ball in from El Canouse. As I say, Vardy using all his experience just to use that bounce to give himself enough time to set himself.
Yeah, it's a really good goal, and as I say, classic Jamie Vardy. The referee looks to be back to his feet, and okay to continue. I mean, that was a truly bizarre moment there. I'm really... It must have been some freak contact there from Ayew on the back of the referee's head. Maybe it was just a jolt that he wasn't quite expecting, but it looks to be all right now.
He does, yeah. Well, fingers crossed. Well, we say that he looks all right. He's gone down the tunnel here, the referee. And so we can see the linesman is just now talking to a couple of the Southampton players. They're in the middle of the park. The other linesman is still by the dugouts there, speaking to the sort of the match director and the 4th official. But now this is going to be an interesting one. I mean, maybe they should just try to do a VAR thing when there's no ref on the pitch and everything's just going to be communicated via the linesman. But we're not sure what's happening here now, because I say the ref has gone off the field, and doesn't look like he's coming back on any time soon, and it doesn't seem to be much in the way of referee or the 4th official Sam Barrett getting ready to ref either. So I think it may just be a case that, I don't know, maybe they want to do the concussion check for the referee off the pitch. It's hard to know. As I say, I've done quite a few commentaries, and I have seen a couple of occasions where the ref has sort of pulled up with an injury, but I've never seen anything like this where you don't really know exactly what's happened to the ref.
No, absolutely right. Jordan Ayew looks fairly concerned as well, as you would expect from a fairly professional of the sport. But Southampton taking this now to just knock the ball around between a couple of them. I believe Stuart, one of them in the midfield there, along with Ryan Manning. They need to get going, Southampton, and this won't help them at all, the fact that there's been a serious delay in this one. So I think that it's going to really be a bit of a hindrance to the Saints, because they were starting to build a little bit of momentum. Then Leicester scored, and again they're starting to build momentum up again, and now there's been a delay for what I imagine will be 5 or 6 minutes now. Yeah,
it's going to take a little while before we're back on the way here. I mean, it's quite interesting reading a couple of the updates pages here. It says, in fact, yeah, we can confirm now. It looks like Sam Barrett's in full refereeing kit, and It's good to see that the main ref, Dave Webb, has got a smile on his face, but he has now taken off his referee's top. He's taking off all the paraphernalia in terms of the radio, the mic equipment and stuff. So we are going to have a ref change here. I wonder if they're going to announce that with a board and stuff. But anyway, it's quite interesting to read one of the updates page as well, saying the ref has had to blow the whistle to halt play for an injury he's actually picked up himself, which is not something you see or read every day. But yeah, it looks like Sam Barrett is going to get ready to come on and referee this game, and we should be underway fairly soon. The injury happened after about 20 minutes, so we'll have a couple of more minutes of my commentary before I hand over to Jens, because we are going to get a lot of added time at the end of this. So you can see our VAR official, Michael Oliver, has obviously got somewhere he has to be this evening, because he had a little bit of a frustrated look on his face when he realised that the game's going to be a little bit longer now.
Yeah, he's head in his hands there, Michael Oliver, in that VAR van. I imagine it's probably a little bit stuffy on all my English afternoons, such as this one, I imagine, over in that van there. But obviously delays in football is something that no one really wants to see, but good to see that, as you say, the referee was okay and had a smile on his face, having a laugh about it, and just good that no further action was needed. But as we say, very unusual stuff happening here at the King Power, because not only have Leicester scored a goal at home, there's also been a referee change.
Yes, absolutely, and just waiting to see. Both sets of players now are just sort of having a little bit of an unofficial knocking the ball around, and hopefully we won't have to wait too much longer. It's still goalless in the other game between Everton and Ipswich. Just as I say that, we're getting word that there might actually be a goal in that game, so we'll maybe be able to pass that on for you in just a second. But yeah, we can confirm that. It looks like Beto has given Everton the lead in that game, so both games now 1-0 to the home side. As I say, we're just hanging on to see what happens here with our referee for the time being. Sam Barrett looks like he is going to be taking over. But this sort of break in play, I'm just sort of wondering what Southampton got enough about them to actually try and change the way this game is being played? Can they actually do a little bit more to force the issue with Leicester? Because they had a bit of possession before the goal was scored, but it's just a case of how they respond now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they've got to get that ball into forward areas, but also if Leicester score again, I think that's probably going to be game over, really, because Southampton, I don't think they have enough in the tank to come back from 2 down, especially this early on. We've seen so many times Southampton being the side that take the lead, such as last weekend against Fulham, when they went 1-0 up thanks to a header from Jack Stevens, and then succumbed to 2 late goals, one coming in with almost the last kick of the game in that one after a Sessegnon header. So they're certainly a side that are used to going ahead and then being pegged back 1 or 2. In this one, it's a different style of mentality. They've gone behind, and now they're the ones that will have the momentum to try and go get an equaliser. It's just whether they have the quality to do so.
Yeah, exactly. It's a difficult one to predict, really, how it's going to go from here, in terms of whether or not Southampton are just going to try and go for it. I mean, you mentioned there, of course, if they concede again, that is game over. But then if they just sort of go through the motions, and they might not have enough about them to actually upset Leicester, who have now got a 1-goal lead. But I'm a little bit sort of confused now, because it was a good 2 or 3 minutes ago that we had pictures from the tunnel where it seemed like our 4th official was in full match kit, ready to come out and ref the game. And sort of since then, the TV pictures we're getting are just showing us the players sort of having a little knock around in the middle of the park. We're not getting any shots of the tunnel anymore. Now we're getting some shots of the fans of either side as well. So maybe there has been some, I'm not quite sure, but maybe there's been an issue with but whether or not, I mean, if Dave Webb can't referee because he's had a head injury, then it seems fairly straightforward. That's what the 4th official was tailor-made for. But say we can't quite give you the resumption of play in this game as yet. So we can see as well a couple of Leicester fans, looks like a father and son, sat in, it has to be said, a lot of empty seats around them, but I was never going to be expecting this game to be a complete sellout. Leicester fans are very frustrated with things at the club, not just with the results, but there has been a lot of talk about how things have been done behind the scenes. Now, we can see a referee, and he's just disappeared down the tunnel again, so that's a little bit frustrating. Hopefully it won't be for too much longer. And Nistelrooy looking a little bit confused by all of this as well. In fact, he's getting involved in the kick around himself there for a couple of passes there, the Leicester City manager. So, you'll be too young to remember Van Nistelrooy as a player then, I'm assuming?
Yeah, I think so. Maybe just a little bit before my time. But as you said earlier, I mean, there are probably times this season, especially since December, where he's probably wanted to sub himself on at points. They've been really frustrating going forwards, Leicester. I've watched a fair bit of them and Southampton as well this season, and it just seems as though whilst the gap between the Championship and the Premier League is getting bigger, I think Leicester and Southampton are the 2 sides out of the 3 that went up that just didn't invest enough, and not necessarily enough, but well enough.
No, it's true. It's that very difficult balance of thinking that you're going to pick up a bargain, an unearthed gem for not very much money, and then you'll be fine. But really and truthfully, if you look at all the teams over the last number of years that have tried that in the Premier League, there's very few that can turn around and say we spent a few million and we stayed in the Premier League and then built on that. Usually it's the teams that actually do spend a bit of money, or indeed have a very well together squad that's been very well put together from the Championship that doesn't need much doing to it. But that over the last 2 seasons, that's been proven to not be the case, because the last 6 teams to go down this season and last season have all been promoted teams that same year. So it's something's got to be changed as far as that's concerned. But yeah, we've now had a full 9 minutes, going on 10 minutes now really, since the ref got injured. And we'll find out later on exactly what the delay was for, but I can't really understand why it's taking this long. If they've decided that Webb isn't well enough to referee the game, Sam Barrett was already in full kit, ready to go, unless there's an issue perhaps maybe over the battery packs and mics and things. Maybe they weren't sort of expecting to have an extra set of that needed, but it shouldn't really be taking this long.
I completely agree, and once again, it's the fans that are being kept in the dark at the ground here. I think the referee, the linesman, having some words with players about what might be going on, but I mean, Ruud van Nistelrooy looks as confused as anyone, as it confuses us as well in the studio here. So it's a difficult one at the moment. One thing for sure, we're going to get a long, lengthy spell of added time at the end of this first half. Yeah,
I mean, it's going to be double figures already at this stage. But I'm just trying to see if there's anything on any sort of social media channel about what has happened here with our referee. But no, nothing showing as yet. And so yeah, we're just waiting to see exactly what's going to happen. So yeah, I wish we could say a little bit more about this. But yeah, so just to remind you, if you have just joined us in the last minute or so, Leicester City took the lead, and then just a couple of minutes after that, let's have another look here. We're going to have another look at exactly what's happened. Yeah, it's almost like just the tip of the shoulder. The referee was he had his head angled at a certain way, I think, as the ball was moving past him. And then Ayu's shoulder has just caught him in the back of the head, and that's what's caused the referee to basically have a concussion. But we have got a referee now. Sam Barrett is out, and as I say, I'll want an explanation later as to why it's taken this long, because all things considered, safety is the most important thing. If there was a head injury for the referee, then that takes precedence over everything else. But the referee was off the pitch about 6 or 7 minutes ago, so I don't really understand why it's taken this long for the fourth official. Obviously knew what was happening to then get ready to ref the game. But as I say, we're at 32 minutes. I'll probably go on until about 35 before I hand over to James, and then we're going to have, as I say, probably about a good 12-13 minutes of added time in this first half. Leicester 1, Southampton 0. 32 minutes on the clock. It's more like 21 minutes really. And now it looks like we have a replacement fourth official, who I'm assuming it might actually be a Leicestershire County referee who's just been asked to sort of step in. But we'd have to research that actually. Did they have a replacement fifth official that travels to every game? I'm assuming these days with the Premier League's belts and braces they probably do.
I wonder if they have a full 11 as well, just in case of a knock-on effect or something like that. But good to see we are finally back underway at the King Power Stadium, and well, Southampton now should have used that little break there, the little interlude, to regroup and think, right, how are we going to try and break down this Leicester side? Because it's been cagey thus far. The game seems to be on a bit of a knife edge, really. Both sides threatening at points, but only the Vardy goal to show for it so far.
No, absolutely. And whether or not this big break in play is just going to mean both teams need a few minutes now just to limber up again before we're sort of playing at full pace, that remains to be seen. But it's Wilfred Ndidi now in possession for Leicester City on the halfway line, just leaving the ball now for Ollie Skip, and then Skip has a mishit ball out towards the left-hand side. It's behind El Khanous, had no chance of getting on the end of that one. Throw on to Southampton now down their right-hand side. Harwood Bellis is across to take this one. And so he's going to try and launch this as far as he can into the Leicester City half. Just to confirm as well, Everton have taken the lead against Ipswich, and it was Beto on 26 minutes that got the goal there for Everton. It was Alcaraz with the assist. In our game it was Vardy that got the goal, and it was El Khanous with the assist. As the ball now back with Stolarczyk, the Leicester City keeper. It certainly looks in the early stages of this game like he might have quite a busy afternoon, but it's actually proved to be fairly quiet for him so far.
Yeah, it has, and that is indicative as to how poorly Southampton have gone forward so far. I don't think Stewart's touched the ball up front for Southampton as of yet. Of course, that could all change. Southampton do try and push on, and I think the additional time may actually help the Saints as they feel though it's a now or never in the first half. As we get into that additional time, of course, there will still be 10 or 12 minutes of it to go, but I still think being in the additional time period will mean that they feel as though they can just throw bodies forward, and perhaps that'll put pressure on Leicester.
That's what they need to do, just to try and upset the rhythm, because Leicester are trying to push forward themselves down the left now with El Canouse taking on Fernandes. Does well there, Mateus Fernandes, just to win the ball back off him and using Walker-Peters to get that ball away from their own penalty area. Chukwu now under pressure, playing it back towards Bednarek. And it's with Stevens now over towards the left-hand side. We're getting word of Everton doubling their lead against Ipswich. We'll confirm that in just a moment. Oh, goodness me, what a terrible ball back from Stevens that is. And Ramsdale, quite rightly, just sort of looks at his cap and says, what on earth was that? I mean, Stevens, if you were testing your keeper with like bad back passes in training or in the warm-up, you still wouldn't do it that hard.
No, absolutely not. It's a horrendous back pass, and it really shows how high Leicester are pressing up the field. It's panicking, and that's Southampton back three, and Stevens didn't have a passing option, to be fair, to his right-hand side, so it made it all the more difficult. But as a professional, you should never be passing.
He's got to do better than that, hasn't he? But when we're at 35 and a half minutes, it is Leicester 1, Southampton 0, and it will be James to take us through to half-time.
Yeah, cheers, ball, and it's a corner kick to come now, and a right-footed out-swinging ball from Ayew to come, the former Crystal Palace man, long-time servant for the Eagles, now for the Foxes. And, despite his decent start to the season, has, like much of the Leicester City squad, sort of trailed off since Christmas. But the right-footed ball does come in towards that near post. It's flashed, and it comes off of a foot of Stevens. And Ramsdale is very happy to see that one trickle straight into his gloves. He's not dilly-dallying though. Immediately rolls it out. Here's Chukwu coming forward, does well to bypass the first couple of challenges from Skip, and then looks to turn backwards. And Southampton will recycle the ball back with Harwood Bellis. He then goes to the left-hand side towards Stevens. Southampton again looking to build across that, almost a 5-back in possession. I know Manning and Walker-Peters get forward, but when they have the ball on the back, Manning and Walker-Peters drop really, really deep, which then means that they don't have a passing option ahead of them on the wing. It's often forced into the middle where it's more compact, and I think that's one of the reasons why they're really struggling so far.
I think that can be one of the downsides of the 4-3-4, is that you sort of send, because you were expecting so much from Walker-Peters and Manning, the two wide men, and the two centrals, and then the two players ahead of them in Sulemana and Fernandes, they're having to go a lot more central. So as you say, they're having to do running for basically two positions there, which is like the old-fashioned wing-back, but there doesn't seem to be any sort of full-back position. If they lose the ball, then who's covering for them? And if you can just see Walker-Peters there, he just gets crunched a little bit there by Luke Thomas. But it's certainly a good point that it does leave Southampton a little bit short when they're trying to go forward.
Be a free kick then for Southampton, deep in the Leicester half, just ahead of the halfway line. Almost everyone is ahead of the ball, bar Kyle Walker-Peters, who's staying back as the last man. It'll be Mateus Fernandes to deliver with a right foot. It's going to be a long, searching ball towards the centre of the box. Vass gets there first. Stewart wins the follow-up header, but he can't find a teammate. Leicester clear their lines, but only as far as Kyle Walker-Peters goes towards the right-hand side towards Fernandes again. He looks to cut inside, gets the better of El Canouse. His ball into Flynn Downs is terrible, and Leicester will bring it away now with Thomas down the left-hand side. Again, though, Fernandes makes a crunching challenge and wins the ball back. I think the Portuguese midfielder has not had a terrible season really for Southampton. I just don't think he's really been utilised well by Van Nistelrooy. Not one of those players where I'm not sure if the manager knows quite where to play him.
No, it's a difficult. I think the fact that they have been so bad as well, I think it also means that managers sort of thinking on the fly, trying to sort of change things and put a player into a different position, a different variation. But I'm not entirely sure what his best position is either. I think he'd probably need to have another sort of good half season where you can have a good look at him, maybe playing in just in that one position to decide. As here comes Southampton now, although Chukwu was stopped on the halfway line. Good
challenge there from Skip, and it's won back by Ndidi at the second time of asking. He goes into Fass and then back to Ndidi, the Nigerian midfielder, who I mentioned earlier, I believe is probably the most talented player out of the lot on the pitch today. His future at Leicester City certainly up in the air as this season comes to a close. He's committed a foul there on Chukwu, but Chukwu stands tall. He keeps going, and then he's fouled again, but the referee not giving that one. Ndidi getting away with one, not once but twice there. Leicester back on the ball with Thomas towards the left-hand side, and then back to Wout Faes. Back into the feet of Wilfred Ndidi. Space ahead of him, but instead goes sideways to James Justin. Again, Justin just turning. And Southampton not really pressing, despite being one goal down. Perhaps just hoping to stay a little bit more solid, at least maybe until the first half is up. and then try and attack Leicester in the second. Here is Jordan Ayew, though. Good turn of pace to get away from Manning. Looks to try and put a cross in with his right foot, but instead turns. Then plays the overlapping ball into the feet of Thomas. Good ball in. It's evaded everyone, and it finds Thomas at the back post, and just over the bar there from him. It was actually McAteer that put the cross in, I apologise, on the right-hand side, finding Thomas on the edge of the box, and it's a good ball in, really.
It is a good ball. It just seems to be getting away from that near post, but then it drops to Thomas, who is very left-footed, and he, because of where it ends up, he's almost forced to swipe at it with his right. It wasn't a particularly good effort, but he was so close to the defender, he forces the deflection, and now Leicester do have a corner.
A second one for Jordan Ayew to take then. You'd expect another right-footed outswinging ball. That's 3 corners now for the Foxes to the Saints 2. Perhaps slightly indicative as to how the match momentum has gone. Leicester on top, but only just, really, in this one. And the Vardy goal, the only thing to show for it. This independent off-tube studio coverage, Leicester 1, Southampton 0 at the King Power Stadium. So Ayew lines up this corner kick. It's gone short towards the near post, towards Vardy, who didn't get a convincing touch on the ball. It will be brought away now by Sulemana. The offside flag's gone up, in fact, against Ayew as the ball came back to him. And that was a rather unorthodox corner kick routine.
It was, but sometimes you need those. I'm not a fan of the short ball into the near post and the short corner that then ends up not even getting crossed into the box at all. But ones along the deck like that where there is an intended target for a different kind of shot, I think that they can work. As we can see there, Simon Russ just looking at his hand gestures, almost like he's asking his players to be a bit more compact.
I think so. Probably a good idea. It's been very open, especially when Leicester have come forward. Here is the ball forward from Ramsdale. Won't be won by anyone in particular. Despite Stewart being one of the tallest players on the pitch, he's not really proficient in the air, I don't think. He kind of lacks that physicality that maybe someone like James Vardy has.
Yeah, he's tall but not particularly stocky, is he, Stewart? And also, I mean, he's had virtually no service. We've hardly mentioned him in this first half.
Absolutely. In that game against Fulham as well, last weekend that I did cover, I think he had maybe one opportunity, and he came one-on-one with Calvin Bassey, the Fulham Nigerian defender, and got absolutely bodied off the ball. I mean, it was almost cruel to watch at times, that duel between the two.
In fairness, there's not many players that can go shoulder to shoulder with Calvin Bassey. He's a very strong defender. But yeah, I mean, it's a difficult one for Stewart. I do wonder whether or not they're sort of blooding him in for sort of being a regular starter maybe from the beginning of next season.
Potentially so. Played a lot of football at Sunderland, but albeit has struggled with injuries throughout his career as well. So that will be something to watch if he does stay at Southampton next season and playing up front. Southampton on the ball at the moment and look to go round the back. It's with Stevens for the moment. Plays into the feet of Harwood Bellis. Southampton just looking to keep it for the moment as Leicester press forward. Ipswich have got a goal back at Goodison Park, so it's now Everton 2, Ipswich 1. Julio Enciso scoring the goal in that one. Southampton still keeping possession of the ball for now. Played into the middle and indeed it wins it back for Leicester. Goes into the feet of Skip, and now Leicester with a chance on the ball. Playing around the back for the moment. Southampton again looking to press forward, but I think one of the issues Southampton have is, again, formation. The 3-4-3 they're trying to play at the moment just really doesn't enable them to try press Leicester when they have the ball around that back four.
No, they don't. That is the problem. That so they've got this bank of four that are basically trying to defend alongside the back three, and it's just the three up front for Leicester that are trying. For Southampton, I beg your pardon, who are trying to actually get something started, and it's just not working for them at all. But as I say, just as we were saying that. There was a ball played towards the edge of the area. It's not much of a foul, but I think it's enough for the referee to say. I was almost said referee Dave Webb. Of course, it is Sam Barrett who is our referee now, but he has given Leicester City a free kick in quite a decent position here as well.
Indeed, it's going to be Justin and Ayew. Both players stood over it. You'd imagine it will be Ayew to take potentially. Indeed, he comes over for a little conversation, although I'm sure not putting up too much of an argument as to why he should be the preferred taker as well. So it will be Jordan Ayew. We've seen a couple of deliveries from corners for him already. None of them really to much avail, apart from setting up Ndidi with a decent header. Here, though, will be Ayew from this set piece. 5 in the wall in highlighter yellow for Southampton. The visiting side will have to stay strong here. 43 minutes on the clock. Leicester 1, Southampton 0, but could be subject to change dependent on this free kick. Ramsdale is all the way over in the left-hand side of the goal. Ayew steps up and takes it. It's into that 5-man wall. 4 goal from Ayew. What a finish that is. Leicester 2, Southampton 0. That is a thunderous strike from the Ghanaian. Vintage football there from him, running it back to his days at Crystal Palace. The initial free kick is not ideal, but the rebound is certainly sensational.
It's fantastic, as you said. The free kick itself wasn't particularly good, but he makes up for that. And say the Leicester fans will be a lot happier now. I'm not sure what the travelling Southampton fans are going to think about all of this, but it looks a lot better from Leicester now. We've got around, probably around another 10 minutes to go in this first half, maybe a little bit more, but we'll see. Ayew takes the free kick, it's charged down, And it's also good work there from Justin. He realised that Ayew still had a good path to get to the ball. He jumps out the way of it, and then Ayew really does put his foot through it, laces it through a whole body, a whole raft of players there into the bottom corner.
Worth mentioning as well that Aaron Ramsdale can see absolutely nothing of that when it comes back in, because he's gone across his goal, the England international there, to try cover it, because he can see Ayew shaping up to go to the left-hand side. As he does that, the rebound then falls back to Ayew when Ramsdale's already halfway across the goal. As a result, he's completely blocked off by that wall that couldn't get out of the way quick enough or charge the shot down quick enough as well, and so he's left completely rooted to the spot. But Jordan Ayew scoring the goal to double Leicester's advantage at home. It's like London buses, isn't it, really, goals at the King Power? None since December, now 2 in the first half.
Absolutely, yeah. It's been waiting a very long time. We're a few seconds away from the end of the 45, so come on, what are you thinking in terms of added time? How many minutes are we going to get?
I'm going to go for 12, I think.
12.
That's my prediction.
I was going to be around, I'll say 11, just obviously to be different, but I think it's going to have to be double figures, but say whether it's 11 or 12 or maybe even longer than that, we'll wait and see. And I think you might have got it. Yes, you have. It's 12 minutes added on to this first half, so we're at 33 minutes now, really, I suppose, in this first half, but it is now Leicester 2 up, and it's what Southampton would have feared, because they haven't done enough really to get back into the game at 1-0 down, and now suddenly they're 2-0 down.
Absolutely, they've looked really, really poor in this one, Southampton. I think there have been glimmers of promise in this side, especially if you're going down into the Championship next season. I think offensively they've not actually been that bad this season. Yeah, they've not scored lots of goals, but I think with the players that they have, not a lot should be expected from them. I think Paul Onuachu is an interesting one as well up front. I prefer him by far to Stewart up top. I know he's not the most prolific goal scorer, but I think his physicality just added something different.
And he has actually got a few goals recently as well. Yeah, I think so. I think there's probably a little bit more trickery about him as well. I just say there's a bit more physicality, maybe a little bit more of a step over Stewart's, sort of your old-fashioned sort of wiry number 9, which has obviously got its merits as well, but he's just not really been able to get into the game. I'm not going to criticise him too much for that today, because he's had absolutely no service, but maybe Onuachu could just maybe create something out of nothing. But here come Leicester again with a ball down towards El Khanous, cut out by Bednarek for a throw to the home side.
Indeed it is. So at the moment it looks as though Leicester will be going into half-time with this 2-goal advantage. Southampton really have not troubled Leicester at all in a defensive sense. They've had one shot on target. Leicester City have only had 2, but that really does show how clinical the Foxes have been in this first half of football. Well, first 35 minutes of football, really. We've played 1.5 minutes of the 12 added on. Still plenty of time for another goal to go in before the half-time break. Good ball forward. That finds the right-hand side with loads of space. Ball dinged in. It's not a great shot, in fact. And that one trickles into the welcoming arms of Aaron Ramsdale there from Casey McAteer. The 23-year-old gets the ball out there. He's onside when that pass is played. It's a really good ball.
It is a really good ball, but then I just think he makes his mind up far too early that he's going to go for goal. He's a right footer shooting from the right-hand side, trying to catch the keeper out with a tame effort at the near post. He's got no chance of going, and he should have tried to look for Jamie Vardy there, but he's had a couple of good moments in this game, McAteer. I think he's looked all right.
Here comes Fernandes, though, driving forward, trying to find a bit of space for a pass. Again, he's held up, and Ndidi with a great challenge wins that ball back. Now, on the counter, again it's McAteer coming down the right hand side, plays it into El Khanous, shaping up for a shot. Can he find the angle? He can! It's over the bar. But Leicester City are really pushing on. It could be an absolute slaughtering at the King Power.
Well, it is looking like it now, isn't it? It's almost like Leicester used that sort of unofficial half-time break that we had for 10-11 minutes because of the referee injury. They sort of got their ideas together, built on the 1-0 lead, and have come out looking even more up for it since then. Whereas Southampton have gone even further into their shell. It's the exact opposite of what they really needed to do here. A slight break in play is a bit of a blow to the face there for El Khanous.
Indeed it is. El Khanous, the Moroccan, probably Leicester's most promising player in terms of future prospects, signed from Ghent. £25 million in the summer, and has featured in almost every Premier League game for the Foxes this season. A really good campaign from him, despite not really contributing too many goals and assists. But then again, who in this Leicester side really has, especially since Christmas. But he will certainly be one to watch, especially in the summer transfer window. Whether or not Leicester will be able to keep hold of him is another question, really.
Well, I suppose the difficulty is going to be whether he really wants to move. Will there really be a club that's interested and prepared to pay the right price? All these things are sort of going to have factors as well, and it's all down to what Leicester want to do in the summer, really. Are they going to try and really spend their way out of trouble, or are they going to sort of try and do it on a budget? It all depends on that, really, but if they can keep hold of El Khanous, I think it'd be better if they could do that.
Throwing comes in from Manning on the left-hand side. It's headed back by Fass and then picked up by Justin. He dinks one down the line towards Jordan Ayew. Good touch from him to get away from Stevens. Stevens then overcompensates and just about is able to stick a leg out. That could have been a foul on the halfway line, but Southampton just about get away with one. You'd think they need a goal really before half-time. Do Southampton. It's an independent off-tube studio coverage of the Premier League. 3 o'clock kick-off between Leicester and Southampton. It's currently Leicester 2, Southampton 0, with 49 minutes played, of which the ball's only been in play for about 40. 12 minutes added on in total, so 2.5 to go until the half-time break, after there was a referee substitution, the only change of the game in this first half, due to a concussion injury from the match official. Into Stewart now, who has touched the ball, I believe probably the first time in about 20 minutes. Leaves it towards Walker-Peters. He then plays it back towards Harwood-Bellis. The number 6 sweeps it to the left-hand side for Stevens, the Southampton captain. In now to the feet of Ryan Manning, back all the way to Bednarek. Now once again to Harwood-Bellis, looking for that dink ball over the top, but he can only play it short to Walker-Peters once again. They don't have winning runners down either flank, do the Saints, and I think, again, it's problematic because they just don't have that out ball. They don't have that easy release of pressure.
No, they don't. They've got possession in midfield. They're holding on to the ball. Leicester are crowding around them, and as soon as Southampton have got trying to look for an out ball, as you say, they've got nowhere to go with it. And Suleimana's just gone from left to right. He has found some space here for Fernandes on the right-hand side. Let's see if Southampton can do something with this one.
Ball out to the right-hand side for Walker-Peters. Takes a bit of a tumble there, but stays on his feet. He's got a supporting ball for Suleimana, but again, just to go backwards, it's Harwood-Bellis now. Down the right-hand side towards Fernandes. Goes back towards Flynn Downs. Chance potentially for a cross, but it's only Stewart that's anywhere near that Leicester box. Now Suleimana joins the attack, but it's back with Walker-Peters. Leicester are at a walking pace here, and that's not a criticism because they know that Southampton are just going to keep going forward and then keep going backwards.
They're just following the ball here, Leicester, and so far it's paying dividends. There's not too much variation from what Southampton have been doing since the start of this game. It's just a lot of possession in the middle of the park with no real end product, and Leicester are able to predict it all so far.
Here's Harwood-Bellis now, a minute left to go of the 12 that was added on. Backwards inside to Jan Bednarek. Inside now to the feet of Harwood-Bellis. Now with Kyle Walker-Peters into Onuachu, dinks it over the top towards Stewart. He's not going to get there, brought down by Cody. And then to Justin. He goes back to his goalkeeper. And there's been a foul there in the midfield. Is it Onuachu?
I think it was Stewart that's just called Justin as he was playing that ball back. And I think he's just trying to make the point that there wasn't anything intentional in that, as quite a few Southampton fans aren't prepared to wait to the next 5 or 6 minutes to see the rest of this half out. They're just heading straight for an early half-time beer, and quite frankly, based on what I've seen in this first half, I don't blame them.
Yeah, I must have read my clock wrong there, because it's 6 minutes to go rather than just the 1. But here is Jamie Vardy now, squares up Harwood-Bellis, then plays it back to El Canoes, potentially a crossing opportunity. El Canoes, bit of trickery there to get away from his man. He's taking it to the byline. Can he dink one back? He can to the back post. Ramsdale in trouble. It's hit the crossbar of all places. El Canoes is running riot down that left-hand side for Leicester City.
He's looking dangerous, and I think from Ramsdale's point of view, he's stood underneath the crossbar, so if that ball was dropping, you'd like to think he would have seen that it was going to be coming in on his side of the post, if you like, of his side of the line. But we'll see here. There's just no challenge on El Canoes at all. And there might have been actually a second where Ramsdale did lose that ball in the air, but in the end, it's off the bar and away for a goal kick. But yeah, I mean, a third goal for Leicester here seems a lot more likely than a first for Southampton as it stands.
Ramsdale and Stevens were certainly concerned as that ball fell from the heavens, really, onto the top of the crossbar, but ultimately relieved that they and Southampton hadn't conceded a third goal in this first half of football. Back now with Wout Faes. Again, Leicester recycle round the back. Indeed, offering support in the middle, but it's dinked over towards Justin on the far side. Over-challenging is Manning. He jumps in but doesn't win much of the ball. It must have gone straight out of play there. In fact, it has. So it'll be a Southampton throw-in. Still time for a goal to be pulled back here for the Saints. It's just, again, the urgency that is not really present for them in the attack at all. Ryan Manning asking to swap balls with the ball boy there, because I believe it wasn't quite pumped up enough. So again, more time to come in this one. Manning goes over, picks up the ball himself, and has options down the line. Well, only really one in the form of Suleimana, so has to go backwards. Here is Ugachukwu. Has Suleimana in support, instead goes backwards towards Manning. Manning then into Stewart, back to Manning, back to Stewart, but cut out by Skip. And then into the feet of Ndidi. Leicester worked that well from defence to attack now, as brought forward is Jordan Ayew. He's tugged back by Ugachukwu. That'll be a free kick, potentially a yellow card, really, because that's a bit of a cynical foul in the middle.
I thought it was as well. The referee's just thinking about it here, Sam Barrett, but I think he's decided to go against it in the end. I mean, there's no attempt to play the ball there. So, you know, he's got his arm across, and there's a bit of an attempt to trip as well, but the referee's allowed him to get away with it.
He has indeed. Completely cynical there from Ugachukwu because he just lost his man in Jordan Ayew there, the goal scorer of Leicester's second. First, of course, by Jamie Vardy. It's Leicester 2, Southampton 0. 54 minutes on the clock due to a lengthy 12 minutes of additional time that is nearing its conclusion. Here is Bednarek, goes back to Aaron Ramsdale. He's an interesting one, I think, Aaron Ramsdale, because it's one of those where his future is very much up in the air at the end of this season. Of course, having gone from playing for Arsenal and starting week in, week out, to being called up for England in European competitions, now finding himself being relegated with Southampton. Where next for him?
It's a difficult one, isn't it? I think you could almost argue that he'd done nothing wrong. Nothing wrong. Is obviously everyone makes mistakes, but in individual errors. But the point is that he was Arsenal's first choice keeper. Raya arrived, and then it just sort of put him out of joint, really. And as I say, he's arrived at Southampton where everything was a mess at the start of this season. He's actually had a few injury problems this year as well. So again, he's a player that on paper you'd think there would be clubs interested in him, but whether or not there's contract length and whether or not the Southampton are prepared to sell, that'll be the other question.
Here is Sulemana now on the near side touchline, squaring up with Justin. Looks to put a cross in, but again it's slow and it's backwards and it's into Stevens, and then played to Harwood Bellis once more. Southampton just look like they're ready for this half-time break here, with Ugachukwu on the ball. Back to Harwood Bellis, dink ball over the top, looking to play in Walker Peters. Good touch from Walker Peters. Now opportunity presenting itself potentially. There's no one in the box for Southampton at all. It's gone backwards. Good touch there from Harwood Bellis. Can he dink a ball in? He goes for a strike. It comes a deflection off of Cody. Will go out of play. It was actually Fernandez with the shot. I apologise, but that'll be a corner kick for Southampton. Their first of the game, potentially a smash and grab opportunity here to get one back before half time.
Well, they need to go back before half time. It certainly makes the half time talk for Simon Rusk a little bit easier. Makes the second half a little bit more exciting for the neutral as well if they can get this goal back just before the break. But it has been very difficult for Southampton to get anything done. And as you say, again, there was just an issue with no one really to pass the ball into inside the penalty area. But it's going to be an in-swinger now.
It will indeed. It'll be Ryan Manning to take. One arm raised in the air. Left-footed in-swinging ball. It's high towards 6-yard box. They can't get held on it. Connor Cody is there to clear that one away for Leicester City. Now back with Kyle Walker-Peters. Sweeps one over to the right-hand side towards Harwood Bellis. He doesn't win it. Instead, it's won in the air by Thomas. Out of play for a throw-in. And, the additional time almost up here for the two sides. Southampton now piling the pressure on, but only from a throw-in situation. Again, their main issue is there's just not enough bodies in the final third for them to have a passing option in.
They're worried to commit the players, whether or not they've been told not to, whether or not they're just not able to sort of break out of that sort of defensive, let's not concede again sort of mentality. Well, you're 2-0 down away from home. You don't want to concede again, but you have to score as well to make it exciting at all. And the ball's now gone down the left-hand side here, but that's the sort of crumbs that Stewart's had in this game, just chasing balls vaguely in his direction, but nothing really to him.
Goes out of play then for a goal kick for Leicester City. Van Nistelrooy, well, he's had a tough season really. His first as a professional manager at Leicester City since being the caretaker manager at Manchester United. It's been difficult for him, but that's not a difficult first half for Leicester. They're 2-0 up, half time at the King Power. Leicester City 2, Southampton 0.